Well, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, of course, delivered her spring forecast yesterday, but it was against the backdrop of everything changing around her, given in the war in the Middle East. We're joined now by Carsten, Jung, who's the head of macroeconomics at the Institute for Public Policy Research. Very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. If we can, for one question, park the situation in the Middle East, what changed yesterday? What significantly stood out for you, or was it more of the same from the Chancellor?
Well, this was the fourth fiscal statement by Rachel Reeves, and she promised in advance of getting into power to stabilize public finances and bringing stability. And it feels like this was the first budget that was really calm and had arguably very much stabilized markets since the November. So there was this worry that the UK borrowing costs were much higher and had increased much more than those of other countries over the last 1.5 years. But this spread against other countries has now come down. So arguably, the bigger story is that in November, the autumn budget delivered the sort of stability and calm that Reeves had previously outlined. And so basically, the good news yesterday was that there wasn't much news on the forecast. There wasn't any need to adjust taxes or spending because borrowing costs had in fact come down more than was previously expected. So she even had a bit more headroom against her fiscal rules. So the Iran crisis aside, this was basically a no news is good news story.
I mean, if you see it as almost like a kind of vindication, spring forecast, isn't that a bit of a problem given what is going on elsewhere, right? Because she's talking about inflation coming down, she's talking about stability, but it feels pretty precarious at the minute, right?
So it's absolutely very precarious, and we don't know where energy prices are going to go. But she has a buffer against her fiscal rules of a bit more than 20 billion. So this buffer we have for exactly the kind of crisis we might see now that could be used, for example, to support people more with the cost of living. And so having this fiscal headroom, having this buffer is exactly the kind of thing that you want to have going into this crisis. That said, of course, we really need inflation to come down so the Bank of England can cut its interest rates. We actually know that cost of living interventions can help with that. So one thing that Rachel Reeves should consider doing more of is these energy price interventions that have been tested in Europe and in the UK during the previous energy crisis. So really looking at not getting inflation out of control.
This is it though, slightly, because you say that she's got a buffer of 20 billion, like the energy price intervention from the Conservatives. What was that, 150 billion? I mean, that 20 billion, could go quite quickly.
Sure. So so far the shock is much smaller than we had in the Ukraine crisis. We also have other tools that could probably be more targeted now than there were previously. But yeah, absolutely. If we get a very, very big energy shock, the headroom buffer might have to be used up. But that, again, fiscal rules are for normal times. If it's a crisis, then the UK isn't at risk of being insolvent. So we could borrow more outside the fiscal rules and then come back to them in normal times.
Just give us a snapshot. If oil prices keep rising, what is there a trigger level that really worries the UK finances, or a trigger amount of time of oil prices staying elevated?
So the one key thing to watch is the energy price cap. So consumers are insulated from April to June because the energy price cap has been set. The big question is, will energy market disruptions continue so long that they will affect the next cap, which starts in July? And I think that this will be the key pressure point. And that's also the point where potential policy could think of doing more. So I wouldn't rush in terms of timing. I think we have weeks, perhaps months, to think about what intervention should be. But I think preventing prices from rising, and according to one estimate, the energy price cap could go up by £500, which gets you back to where they were in 2023. So we really should prevent that from happening, and that would be the July price cap.
Carsten, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Carsten Jung there.